All right, well, now it's time for the next bit. It's time for What If. We talked about What If. And of course, we're going to be talking about What If Episode 2. What if T'Challa became a Star-Lord? Overall thoughts first, I loved it. I thought it was great. I've been digging the What If show so far. And I already knew that we were going to have more of an emotional connection to this episode because it's Chadwick Boseman's last performance as T'Challa, right? And the last performance, I think, period, that we're getting from him, right? Tragically passed away. And for the most part, I held myself together through the episode. And then at the end, when you get the tribute and you're just kind of like, I was just getting a little choked up. You know, I had to look at my cat and be like, I'm just getting a little choked up. It's okay. Don't worry. And like, nothing's wrong with daddy. I'm fine. But what I wasn't prepared for was that this was actually a very resonating episode all in all. It's about nurture versus nature and what T'Challa represents versus Peter Quill. Like no, we could sit here and say that it kind of paints Peter Quill as being a loser because he doesn't do anything near as legendary as Star-Lord does, but he also just winds up working at a fucking Dairy Queen. But aside from that, like, I thought those were nice little bits. There were bits in here that referenced the Guardians of the Galaxy movie. I love the bit at the beginning when the Kree dude finds him and he's like, I'm Star-Lord. He goes, oh my God, he recognizes it.
Yeah,
he
knows he's fanboys.
Yeah, he fanboys.
It's like he's just the complete opposite of Peter Quill in pretty much every way.
Yeah, right. So I like the story, but I also like that it threw a different shade on Yondu as well. The idea that I feel like between the arc of Yondu and Guardians 2 and what we see here, we know so much more now about that character. And I was really amazed and kind of astounded at certain voice actors that came back and certain that didn't. Like, you didn't get Chris Pratt to do Star-Lord. You didn't get Dave Bautista to do Drax, but somehow you got Kurt Russell to do like one line as Ego. How freaking random was
Josh
that?
Brolin to do Thanos?
Josh Brolin is Thanos. The Thanos bit was a little odd to me. That like, because T'Challa is there, he kind of talks Thanos into being a good guy. And they laugh at his idea of genocide. That kind of threw me off. And at the same time, I was like, that kind of fits the Ravagers. So I thought that was cool. That's actually Sean Gunn playing that character too. So, I mean, overall, I really liked the episode. I thought it was good. I thought it was actually stronger than the last episode. I liked the animation. Overall, I really dug it. I loved the performances, the voice acting. It was cool. I love the animation. Jelani, overall, what did you think of episode 2 of What If?
I mean, already it's starting strong. Like, the first episode, I mean, for me, I mean, I give that, like, that would give 3.5 dicks. It's good because it's basically a hash retelling of Captain America the First Avenger, but through the eyes of Carter and Captain Carter and how fast and stronger she is because she was healthy when she got that serum. So she does a lot of things a lot faster and it gets done a lot quicker. And I loved how that pacing worked. But this episode with T'Challa being Star-Lord is my favorite. Yeah, I am like still choked up with Chadwick Boseman. Like when we heard it on our live stream, like that was real. I hate that I find that breaking news happens while we're trying to talk about and have fun.
I remember that. I don't remember what movie that was. I think it was a Bill and Ted movie, wasn't it?
It was a Bill and Ted movie, I think.
Yeah.
No, yeah. And we got that news, and it hurt all of us. So the fact that this is a great send off for him, it's a great what if. I heard that, like, a lot of people here on the internet, but it was like he knew, so he decided to jump on and do this as quickly as possible. So I like that part about it. The weaknesses for it would be like they nerfed Thanos. He was really nerfed. Like he was Hulk tier strong, like Hulk, and he beat up Hulk without the Infinity Gauntlet, and he's getting his butt whooped by his own guard. And they didn't make any smirks to him or anything. They were just like, we'll kill him. And the other kind of con was Benicio del Toro. Didn't sound like Benicio del Toro.
I thought that was not. I was like, that's totally not Benicio. And then I got to the credits, and I was like, that's Benicio del Toro actually doing that. This sounds so weird.
It's the weirdest sounding thing.
And the Collector got jacked in this universe, man. Have you noticed?
Well, he became the kingpin of the universe, so he would become Thanos. So I get it, but not as strong. But I liked it. I loved him fanning out. I love the fact that his regality, the things that fundamentally make T'Challa were he didn't need the technology. He has his own technology of Star-Lord, but he didn't need a suit to be, just a great person, like through and through. And the fact he talked Thanos down is fantastic. I don't know what it about that made me excited, but it just feels like that would happen. And it also tells me that Peter Quill is full of shit. And the last con I have is that last part where Ego finds him. So does Ego kill him? Because he was trying to kill all of his offspring.
Yeah.
So does he kill him here, or does he try to bring him into the fold? Actually,
that's what he wasn't trying to kill his offspring. He was trying to find one that was worthy of I guess sharing his power or whatever.
So we'll probably get a what if Peter Quill went evil, because I have heard that they were intending on following this story back up, and that's kind of obvious. Like, that's why you get Kurt Russell. You're not going to get Kurt Russell and pay him what he's worth to come in and deliver one line of dialogue. You know what I'm saying? Or one and a half, whatever it was. He'll be back. Yeah. And they're probably saving the Chris Evans paycheck for that. Not Chris Evans, Chris Pratt paycheck for that. And did you see the newest thing? They're like, Chris Pine. And we're like, there's that meme where it's like, finally I've collected them all, and it's all the white Chris's over at Marvel Cinematic Universe. But sure, I know a lot of dudes in our lives named Chris. Josh should be the next one. How many dudes out there named Josh? Let's do it. But I liked it. I think that, okay, so I still thought that Thanos was badass, because even without the gauntlet, even without the army, he stood up to those two. It was Black Dwarf and Proxima Midnight that he was holding off. They didn't get him. Nebula.
Cinematic Universe Thanos has never been really clear on just how strong he was.
No,
he's always had his army,
That's not just the Cinematic Universe Thanos. That's just Thanos in general. He goes up and down in what he can do. Initially it was just because he had this, he was more like an apocalypse figure in the background, but then he gets the gauntlet. But then, what can he do? Well, without the gauntlet, you know what I can tell you can happen? God Doom can rip his fucking spine out. Anyway, so there's that. But I actually thought that he was kind of cool. I thought it was a little weird that they were, so casually joking about, genocide. But the one that really bothered me was Nebula. I thought Nebula was very weird in this version of things, but overall I like it. I agree with you, Jelani. Maybe some nitpicking here and there, but overall I thought it was really, really solid. What did you think about it, Brooks?
I liked it. I thought it was good. I thought it was interesting to see how T'Challa, being Star-Lord, accomplished so much and became just this legendary figure. And I also liked how they make the Collector such a huge piece of shit.
Yeah.
He is. I mean, he's just a fucking dude who just kidnaps sentient beings and puts them in fucking boxes and shit. I mean, because fuck the Collector.
Yeah,
I loved seeing him get his ass kicked.
Well, at the same time, the Collector is us. Karma. The Collector is us. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I'm going to be the one to get the Wonder Bread He-Man. No one else can have it. I'm going to put it behind my glass case. I'm going to be the one to get the lament configuration and find new ways to experience pleasure and pain.
Maybe that's why I hate him so much. I see too much of myself in him.
No, he's
I always unbox my stuff.
I was disappointed in his performance. But what about this? What about, I like the Howard the Duck bit, but that was actually Seth Green doing Howard the Duck, who did the little bit in the original one. What'd you think about the Howard the Duck bit, Brooks?
I liked it. I thought it was pretty funny. It'd be interesting to see Howard the Duck. They're bound to do something with him now, because they've been kind of hinting at it.
They were supposed to do some kind of animated series, I think, but they should do it at some point. I think Seth Green would get on board with that, would voice the character, would help write it. And if you really had a team that understood that brilliant satirical nature of the original Steve Gerber stuff, I think you could do a really solid Howard the Duck.
Yeah, like the early stuff was like a lot of political satire and stuff, wasn't it?
But yeah, it was. But and that's why Howard the Duck ran for president, and he got some votes. But the thing is, though, if your whole thing is based on nostalgia of the movie produced by George Lucas, that's the wrong direction, I think, to go. Right? So I don't know. I've heard that Chip Zdarsky's run on the character was actually pretty solid. I think it's actually getting like a deluxe hardcover or an omnibus or something soon. Brooks, overall, did you like the first episode of What If?
Yeah, I liked it. I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was interesting. It's a what if, so I thought it was cool to see.
Here's one thing I'd like to see, and me and Brooks have covered some what if issues.
What if?
Yeah, what if I die? We've covered some what if issues on Comics Revisited, and we plan on doing that as a kind of continuous bit, starting again soon. I just got to find my what if comics. But the one thing I do wish would happen, at least in one of these things, and maybe we'll get it in the Marvel Zombies one, but like in most what ifs, it's like, what if this happened? Well, the answer is everybody fucking dies. Like the world goes to shit. Everything gets way worse. Yeah, and this one, it was like, no, things are actually better.
Like she actually did a better job. She actually got the Tesseract.
Yeah.
They used to power the Iron Man suit for Steve.
Yeah.
Bucky didn't die and become Winter Soldier.
Oh, dude, and then the Black Panther becoming Star-Lord one, like he gets the Power Stone, it was the Power Stone, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they don't use it.
Nobody fucking cares.
Yeah.
What do you think about Thanos, Brooks?
I liked it. I like seeing the kind of different side of Thanos, like the Thanos who maybe took a different path, because Thanos was kind of presented as a character you could kind of relate to in a way, even though, his aim was bad. He seemed to have his heart in the right place. Like, he'd seen his civilization collapse, and he thought he had a good idea about how to fix things and make life better for everybody. I thought it was interesting is like that T'Challa could actually convince him that there's a better way than, collecting the Infinity Stones and killing a bunch of people.
Nice.
So they just stayed where they were. Yeah.
What do you think about the I've heard complaints about the animation. I actually like it. It's kind of a mix between line drawn and 3D, which they've tried before, and it's never really quite worked for me, but I think it works here. It feels cinematic. They use the same sound design that they use in the MCU films. For instance, like Cap's shield sounds the same. The vibranium sounds the same. Like it's the same bits and some of the same voice actors, right?
That's interesting too. Like Thanos or the Collector's trophy case has like Mjolnir and Cap's shield in it.
Yeah. Dude.
What happened there?
The Avengers are gone, bro. Like, here's the thing. Like, things are better for certain parts, but not as good for others, right? But what if hasn't done for me yet is get into those really no, this is not a good what if. And let's be we're trying to tell you this, and Jelani's read a lot of them too.
Yeah.
They're never good usually. Like there's the occasional time where there's an occasional time where you're like, okay, maybe that worked out better, but for the most part they don't. But I've heard hate on the animation. I've heard love for it. I really like it. I think it looks solid. It looks comic booky yet cinematic at the same time. It feels and looks at times like a video game, but the background, the artwork is so luscious and amazing, and the line art is working for me. I really like it. What do you think about the animation, Jelani?
Oh, yeah. I completely agree. There's so much little detail in the drawing. Like, it's not off-putting. Like, there's certain anime that I won't watch because it's off-putting to me because the way they're drawn. There's a Getter anime that just came out, or it's starting over again. And I was all into it until I saw like the way they drew the characters' eyes and like little scratches and things like that. I was like, not for me. So this is visually appealing in every way, and it looks similar to those voice actors. So I like how they make sure they pay attention to that detail. And the line work is fantastic. Everything about it. Looks great. I love the coloring. I like Captain Carter's outfit. Something about I like Union Jack, and for the way that it's so intricate on the shield as well, and I love that design. So yeah, I'm really fond of a lot of stuff in this. I love the vibranium when he breaks through the cage he's in. I love the detail within that, and so like I don't know, it's just it's a good bag for me, man. It's very cool.
Hell yeah! What about you, Brooks? What do you think about the animation?
I was kind of on the fence at first with it in the first episode, but I got used to it pretty quickly, into it, and like now it's like I actually kind of I do like it. It's kind of like how the animation in like the early Clone Wars, like the 3D one, like that was kind of it's the same instance where like I didn't really care much for it at first, but I got used to it, and the storytelling in that show really kind of superseded any problems I would have had with like the aesthetic. But yeah, I actually like the animation in this now. I think it works.
I think it worked better in this one for me than the first one, and maybe it was because whoever was doing the animation was getting better at it, or just the idea that they're in space looked cooler, and the moving cages and the collector's vault or whatever was super cool to me. And I mean, I really liked it. Like when you saw Nowhere, and like this was one of those times where like I watched all those credits so I could see all of the backgrounds and shit. Like that art like looked amazing to me. So I thought that was really, really cool. One thing that does bother me, and by the way, we got Tim Crocker says the art feels like it's still in concept art stages, like a couple more steps that could polish it up pretty nice.
Yeah.
Good lighting, color palette at times, though. I agree with that, especially in this episode. Eddie says, the What If Marvel Legends coming out look dope, and they make the Watcher if you get them all. Here's one of my big complaints about the series. First of all, I love Jeffrey Wright as Uatu, the Watcher. Uatu.
Things just ain't the same for gangsters.
Right? But I'll tell you this. I love the voice. I love the intro because that's what the What If comic books were like. It would start off being narrated by him, right? And that's cool. That's cool. But all we get of the Watcher are just these like weirdly silhouetted fucking images. Like that pisses me off so much. What do you guys?
Like they do him like Eternity, where he's like, he's a galaxy inside of him. Like,
the voice acting is so brilliant, and I agree with Dank. And what's up, Dank? Jeffrey Wright is brilliant. So like, why not have some brilliant animation to back it up? It's like they like cheapened out, on that. They're like, let's just keep putting the same thing. I am the Watcher.
They're going to save him for the finale.
Oh, man.
Like in the last episode, the Watcher actually has to do something.
It's like, what if we animated the Watcher? Is the final episode, right?
Wow.
Wait, what do you think about Uatu in the show, Jelani?
I mean, I like him. He's basically your Rod Serling. So he tells the beginning and the end. He's the narrator. And I mean, hopefully he does find a way to interact. But I only want to see Uatu like interact with the Fantastic Four and Galactus. So that's the only way I want to see him like used if they're going to do a first appearance of him for real.
I'll tell you what, man.
It's all good.
If they're going to use the Watcher in a live action film for real, not just for a bit like they did in Guardians 2, but like for real, let's be honest. The Watcher was first introduced in a Red Ghost story. How many Fantastic Four movies you think they have to make to get to the Red Ghost?
We gotta do Super Doom,
which I think I love the Red Ghost and the Super Apes. I get it. Right now we're all in this anti-Russia shit again, so maybe that could work. I don't know. No, but I just wish they would animate him better. I don't want just this weird silhouette. Like, I don't want something that looks as crude as me pulling an image from the internet and very crudely animating it in a program online like I did for the intro here. What do you think, Brooks, about the Watcher in the show? Uatu. Because last week somebody was like, well, it's not just a Watcher, it's the Watcher, it's Uatu. And I'm like, of course, we know that. We know that. Have they even said his name yet?
No.
I think he said like, I am Uatu the what? I can't remember though. I think he did in the first one.
Okay.
I think he introduced himself.
What do you think?
Well, I mean, I would like to see more of him, but I think they just kind of like they've taken him as like, he's just the guy who basically is introducing the show. So why go through all the trouble of making like all this animation for him? And because like in the What If comics, basically Uatu was like in like the first panel. He'd be on the first page and like the last page maybe. Yeah. So I think that's why they didn't really bother too much with him. I think they probably will eventually.
Yeah.
I imagine eventually they're going to give us a full-on Watcher, but they're probably just like saving it for later.
Yeah.
At the very end, Jonathan Majors comes in to voice Kang, and he's like, and that's who Uatu's talking to, is Kang maybe or something
and Kang,
like that.
Shoots him in the head,
or takes his eye out.
Yeah, takes his eye.
Gives it to Nick Fury. Wouldn't that be a weird fucking stretch? Anyway, yeah, I just wish and the other thing, yeah, you made a good point there. Like, if you're just going to do this crude animation for now, I'm cool with it because the voice acting is solid enough. But give me that wrap up at the end, because we're not getting that. Like at the end, be like, well, and it's because it's better when the Watcher comes in and goes, looks like things didn't go so well for Tony Stark in this alternate reality. But in this one, it's like, looks like things went better for most people. It just depends. Yeah. I think the next episode is the Killmonger, right?
Oh, it is?
Is it the Killmonger? Somebody said it was the Killmonger saves Tony, but I don't know what it is. Let's see if we can figure it out. Okay, so what out of 5 you digs? I want you out there in the chat to let us know, you in the comments to let us know, and Jelani, out of 5 possible you digs, what do you give episode 2? And I know you said you give the first episode, because I gave it 4, and you said
3.5. 3.5.
So what do you think about the second episode? What if T'Challa became a Star-Lord?
It's a lot better. It's a step up. It choked me up, so it gave me an emotional response. So I will give it a 4 or 5 so far. I may change that depending on how the others go, but for right now, I'll give it a 4 or 5. It's Chadwick Boseman at his best. His final role, it's sentimental to me like that, and I like how he was able to make the Ravagers just the Ravagers. It's not the Guardians of the Galaxy, not at all, because it didn't need it. Well, not yet, But I like how he formed that bond with them so quickly. I love how he's renowned in the universe. It's so cool, because I never when you expect he's like, "Oh, Star-Lord." He's, "You're Star-Lord, really?" And he knows of him, and it's funny as crap. And it's like I didn't see that coming, and the fact that they run with that, and it's told so well to me. So I'll still give it high marks. I think I enjoyed it a lot.
Nice.
Yeah.
4.5 is pretty respectable, especially for an animated series. And I don't see how, depending on where it goes, like it stands on its own. That's the cool thing about this kind of show, is that each episode stands on its own. Speaking of standing on his own, Brooks is always standing on his own. Sometimes I just drive down the road and I see that he's just there on the corner where a payphone used to be, like he's just waiting for it. Like he's got some kind of beep on his pager, whatever. But speaking of, Brooks, what do you give the second episode of What If out of 5 you digs?
I'd give it 4.5 too. It was really good. I enjoyed it. I feel like they could have done more with some of the Cosmic Marvel stuff, though. I thought it would have been interesting if like Captain Marvel had maybe showed up at a point, or Rocket Raccoon and Groot. So I think there were like a few missed opportunities, but overall, I thought it was a good What If.
I guess if T'Challa became Star-Lord, they'd never go into that prison to save Rocket, and Groot are just still in that prison. Probably.
They'd have broke out still.
Yeah, that's
I was talking that movie about how many prisons they've broken out of.
Yeah, right. I'm going to agree with you guys. 4.5 you digs. If I gave the first one 4, what would you have given the first episode, Brooks?
I'd have given it 4.
Yeah, I gave the first one a 4, and I thought this one was better. Better voice acting, even though there was some good voice acting in the first one. I liked the story. It just kind of depended too much on replaying the greatest hits.
Yeah, it was too close to the first Avenger.
It was,
in a way.
This one understood that that's a bit, and then it went into its own story. That it thought it wasn't perfect. Nebula kind of bothered me. The Thanos thing could have been done a little bit differently, but overall, I didn't mind it. I don't think they nerfed him. And I know a lot of people think that they punked out Thanos, but I'm like, nah, T'Challa talked him out. However, it just goes to show you, the first time we ever saw T'Challa in the MCU, he was on a quest for vengeance, right? And he learned, right? And Yondu taught him that. Like I said, it shows us a lot about the character of Yondu. So I give it 4.5 as well. TM Nerdy gives it 4, you digs. Bobby says 5, you digs, but remember, I like the Inhumans.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
BJ says 3.5, you digs. Perry, my man Perry, who just confirmed he will be joining us for the 28 Days Later Horror Fest edition. Hell yeah. Perry says 4, you digs, and the ending was great because it was it led to the end of the universe, no? Oh, there was some kind of watch. Wasn't there a watcher narration at the end where it's could this lead to the end of another universe? Okay. I still think I would like to still see him. He doesn't move. He's just there. He's like eternity. It doesn't make sense. Anyway, Tim Crocker says, I give it 4, you digs. Kirby says, I give 4, you digs for the recent What If episode. What if you watched the Inhuman series with the sound off and played Santana and just tied all 3 segments together? Boom.
You realize they actually fit together like the Wizard of Oz and Dark Side of the Moon. Oh my God. Yeah. It can't be a coincidence.
It can't be. All right. Well, we just answered the question, what if we talk about what if?